Now, what do you actually need when starting a business? Well, today I'll be breaking it down to just three things, okay? And I'll be breaking it down for you all today, as well as some of the mistakes that you need to avoid, or else you risk spending thousands of dollars with nothing to show for it, okay? So be sure you stay tuned. Now, let's jump into it. Now, when first starting a business, guys, it can be extremely overwhelming, right? I think that a lot of times people kind of underestimate how much work's gonna actually have to go into it. And you gotta look at it as you starting anything new, right? The first time you rode a bike, the first time you went to go to the gym and worked out, right? The first time you did whatever, right? Whatever, the first time you did your job at work, right? It wasn't easy right off the bat. More than likely, it took you some time to really get into the rhythm of things, and that's kind of how you want to look at when it comes to business. But I think what makes business even more complex is that there's so much information out there that you can start feeling overwhelmed because you think that, oh, I need this, I need that, I need this, right? You hear about all these little things that you need, right, from people talking at different stages of their entrepreneurial or their business life cycle, right, or their business career, that you start thinking that, man, like, I got to do all this before I even get started. And that's just not the case, right? I think that, when it comes to mistakes that people make, one is focusing on the little things. I think a lot of times people focus too much on things like logos, right? And I'll throw up a snapshot that way you guys can see, Apple's first logo. Apple's first logo was literally a picture of Sir Isaac Newton under a tree. Right? And the idea was, Sir Isaac Newton, he was under a tree, and then an apple fell down and hit him on the head, and then he was like, oh, gravity, right? That's kind of how gravity came about, apparently, right? Maybe I'm wrong, don't quote me on it, okay? But that was literally their first logo, and I'll throw it up. Now, they started to make iterations from there. You can see quickly they launched with that little Sir Isaac Newton logo, and then they switched it to what people kind of remember as the Apple logo, right? Or it looked more like what the Apple logo of today is, right? And then they started making more iterations and go from there, right? The point is, don't spend too much time on a logo because you're going to be so focused on trying to make the perfect thing that you kind of miss what you're really supposed to be focusing on, okay? Another mistake is people spend way too much time focusing on building a website. Guys, I'm talking from experience. I made that mistake too, right? I had situations, right, where, the idea is you need to get started ASAP, right? You want to, get into the rhythm and start trying to make money as soon as possible. But I would spend, 2 weeks trying to create a website from scratch because I didn't want to, spend the money to try to find someone who could do it for me, right? But it was kind of this weird conundrum where now I end up losing precious time in the process, right? And then I'm less motivated because I'm trying to learn how to build a website instead of hiring someone who's already a professional to do it for me, right? Nowadays, I typically recommend one or two solutions, okay? And these I found are some of the quickest ways to get started. You want to ask yourself first, are you selling a physical product or are you selling a service, whatever the case may be, right? I typically recommend, if you're selling a physical product, I recommend Shopify. Shopify is a platform, it's more than likely that you've heard from them or you heard about them before. I'll link to it down below if you don't have a Shopify store and you want to set one up. I'll link to it down below. But they have one of the easiest platforms to use. It's drag and drop. They make it really simple for you to create your own website. But the great thing is you're not starting from scratch, right? I try to create websites from scratch. With their platform, it really is you get a theme, you put this theme on your website, and all you're doing is you're changing the words, right? You're putting whatever words you want on there. You're throwing in the logo. You're doing basically the little things. You're not truly building out a website, right? You're just putting the words, the sales copy, whatever the case may be, right? Throwing in your products, all that stuff. So they are going to be the best when it comes to you if you want to build a physical product. If you're more in the service-based business, for me, I find that when you're in the service-based business, and I'm actually doing a series that I'll probably be dropping from the time you see this video, hopefully a month or two afterwards, about me starting a service-based business from scratch. And I want to show you guys kind of my thought process and how I went about getting it started. So be on the lookout for that. But with this, you want to make this website as simple as possible. For me, I find that with service-based businesses, I don't really want to, especially if it's high ticket, like I'm charging $1,000, $2,000 for a service, right? Let's say, for example, maybe what's an example? Maybe I'm making a deck, right? Like a patio deck or something. I just want a website where I can collect people's information. What I mean by that is I want to have a website where you learn a little bit about what I'm offering. I'll probably put some sales copy at the end, maybe make an offer. And then I just want my offer to be, hey, if you're interested in learning more about this, type in your phone number, your email, whatever the case may be, so I can reach out. That's basically what the flow of it is, right? Which I think with service-based businesses, you don't need a full-on website like you do with a physical product. Because with a physical product, I'm literally, you can buy immediately on that website and then boom, I'm shipping something out to you. The tickets, it's usually a little lower ticket or a little lower price tag, so people are willing to spend $20 on a product. Whereas if you're having someone come over and fix your roof, you want to make sure you want to talk to somebody first. You're not just gonna, go on a website and after just looking at the website for 5 minutes, type in your credit card and pay $10,000, right? It's a process where you want to actually make sure that it's a good fit for you. So you want to make a landing page for a service-based business that's really simple. It's really just for them to get enough information about your company to feel comfortable reaching out to you guys or giving you their information to reach out to you. Okay. So you want to keep it really basic. I recommend you use something like ClickFunnels. I'll link to them down below as well. And I would only use the website, again, to get leads and potential customer contact information, right? The idea is if you give me an email, now I can send you more information about my company, tell you guys what we have going on, so on and so forth, right? That's kind of how I look at it. Now, the next mistake that I see people make is they start getting a loan or leverage credit cards to start a business. Guys, do not do that, okay? Think about this statistic, right? 95% of businesses fail, right? Or it's around there, 95, 98, whatever the case may be. Why would you want to risk your credit on a business, especially if this is your first time starting a business and you're bound to make mistakes that could possibly lead to failure, right? You want to limit your risk as much as possible. So the way I look at it is I want to use, and again, guys, y'all know, especially if you've been watching me for a long time, this channel has been, a chunk of the content that I've posted has to do with credit, right? And I think credit is key. And I have no problem with credit, but I think that it's a great way to grow a business. I've always said that. The key word there is grow. I never use credit to start a business from scratch, especially not my first one. I would only use credit to grow a business, okay? And the idea being that, if I start a business, I use my cash, right? Once I see that the business is working, right? I see I'm getting sales and I just need to put more fuel on the fire, right? I know that if I put $1 in, I get $2 out, or I put $1 in, I get $5 out. Meaning if I invest $1, maybe with advertising, if I spend $1 to advertise, I'm able to make $5 back. If I know and I have that math, then it only makes sense. Why not use my credit cards to, put in, maybe I use a credit card with $1,000 limit. I put in $1,000, right, into ads, and then I make $5,000 in sales, right? That makes sense, right? But if I'm not in a place where I even know my numbers, I'm just starting off a business, you don't know what's going to work. So why would you use your credit card? And worst off, people like to combine the mistakes, right? You'll use your credit card to actually get a logo professionally made and then get a website professionally made, right? You start mixing all the mistakes together, right? As opposed to, you trying to be as simple as possible at the beginning. The crazy part of it too is when I first got into entrepreneurship, I would spend up to $1,000 of my own money on a business idea before quitting. So my threshold was once I had spent that $1,000, if I couldn't, if I didn't have any type of revenue, like I wasn't making consistent money on that business, then I would move on to another idea. And for me, I think that's what made it so much better for me because it started making me hyper focus on where I was spending money and making sure that I was super efficient with the capital. And I think looking back, this is one of the key reasons that I was able to have to actually find success early on, right? Because I was so laser focused that I would try to find ways to, I would try to have the biggest impact with the $1,000 that I was putting in, right? So that means I learned everything I could about marketing. I learned everything I could about operations. I started learning about every different aspect of the company to figure out how I could make it run as efficiently as possible. The problem when we use credit cards is you start thinking, oh, this is not really my money, right? Or you think this is not the money that I'm gonna have to pay back. So you start, spending a little bit more recklessly in a sense, right? You start buying things that maybe you down the road, whenever it's, whenever the business it maybe doesn't work out, you start looking and seeing like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have spent money there, so on and so forth, right? So I think that's one of the key things to focus on is make sure that just spend your cash at the beginning. And once your business is working, then you can throw fuel on the fire by using credit cards. Now, let's get into the main 3 things that I would focus on. The main 3 things are this: marketing, sales, and operations or product delivery, okay? Now, this is the thing, guys. One of the first things you're gonna need to focus on is marketing. What is marketing? Marketing is just a consistent way for you to be able to get leads or customers to find and or see your business, okay? You need to have a way for people to find you. Back in the day, the way it worked was I had to invest a lot more money before the internet, right? I had to invest a lot more money and I would have like a storefront. I knew that, hey, I'm in downtown New York. I know that people are walking around Times Square. If I can get a storefront near Times Square where there's thousands of people walking by every day, some of those people are going to walk into my store because they're going to find it interesting and I'm going to get sales, right? So it's literally like open it and they will come, right? Or whatever that saying is. But it doesn't work like that online. There's literally billions of websites out there, y'all. Billions of websites out there. So don't be fooled into thinking that you're going to create a website and then One day you're gonna wake up and then you're gonna log into your website and then boom, you got 20 sales out of nowhere. It doesn't work like that. You're gonna have to drive people to your business, right? And that's what marketing is. Now I look at it as there's really two ways to do it, right? There's organic or paid, right? And it's easier to understand it as either the two options are you using your time or using your money, right? And by money, I mean ads, right? You're paying for paid ads. Now, for me, I think that the best thing for you to do is you need to find a way to reach the masses, right? You need to find a way to be able to talk with your perfect customer, right? The person that you envision would need your exact product. You want to figure out how you can best reach them, right? So that's going to tell you, okay, should you be on Facebook? Should you be on Instagram? Should you be on Twitter? Should you be on TikTok, Snapchat, whatever the case may be? And at the beginning, you want to just laser focus on one of those platforms, really, okay? So you need to have you need laser focus on the platform. You need laser focus on the target market, right? It's not like, don't say like, okay, I'm selling basketballs. I'm selling basketballs to everybody, right? To sports people, or I'm selling basketball to anybody who wants to play basketball. That's too broad, right? It needs to be something niche down. Like I'm selling specific types of basketballs for, people, for high school players that are looking to get to college, right? The crazy thing is the more niche that you are, the more people are going to feel like you're talking directly to them, and you're going to be able to get more sales because those people are going to be like, oh, all these other products, all these other basketballs, they're for everybody, but this is specific basketballs for me, right? Now the basketball thing is probably a bad example, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. The thing is, when you niche down like that, you start really getting to people's hearts in terms of what they really believe, right? Or what they really believe about themselves, and it makes them want to actually buy your products more. And guys, even though you hear the word niching down, this is one thing that made me nervous back in the day, was I was always trying to be broad because I was like, I need more people. But you realize when you niche down, you get more sales because at the end of the day, how many people play basketball in the world, right? If I niche down to a specific demographic of people who play basketball, that still can be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. So you still have a large market that you can work with, and you can always, as you grow, you can always expand to your audience and branch out to other categories. It's not like you're going to be stuck in that category. Now, the next thing is going to be sales, okay? Now, arguably, the most important skill is sales. For me, I think I didn't really realize how important sales were until later down in my career, okay? The thing with sales is you need to be able to close deals or create sales pages, right? You need to be able to write words that can convert, right? Or write copy that can convert, if you're not hopping on sales with potential clients, right? Either way, you got to be able to sell people. Even if you have a product that you know can change somebody's life, if you're not able to portray that to them, right? You're not able to convey that message to them, they're not going to want to buy, okay? So you got to have a solid sales process, a solid, technique to be able to convert visitors or leads into customers. Now, for me, I used to always think that sales was something natural, right? It was like something where you were either born with it or you weren't. I never thought that it was something that anybody picked up. I thought, hey, some people, they're just good at talking with people and they can get people to buy stuff. That's it. But actually, it's something that can be taught. There's actually a whole process out there, right? And you get better and more comfortable over time. Now, even though so many of us avoid it, and I did too for a long time, this is such a key skill. Like, think about it. You need to be able to not only sell your products to customers, you need to be able to sell your brand to potential partners. You need to be able to sell your vision to your future employees. Guys, that's huge. Because eventually, you got to think that this thing, right, this business you're starting is going to get bigger than just you, right? You're going to have to bring people in. If people don't trust you, or the people are just there for a paycheck, they don't really trust in your vision, they don't believe in your vision that you have for your company, think about what's going to happen whenever you're trying to impact those, or you're trying to have impact on your customers, right? It's not going to, as you get more employees, you're further away from your customers, right? Now it's your employees that are dealing with your customers. And they might not convey the same energy that you do about what your product is or your service, right? And so that's why you got to be big about being able to sell your vision even to your employees. So really, sales is huge. It's so important, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to learn sales. Of course, you're going to be nervous in the beginning when you got to sell somebody. But the thing is, I'm telling you from experience over time that the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And then it's not even going to be something you think about. You're going to realize how easy it is to try to sell something to somebody, right? Now, the third and final one is operations or product delivery, okay? Now, you want to focus on delivering the best product or service experience possible. Okay. The idea is once you've been able to sell somebody on your service or your product, you want to make sure that they have the best experience using it, right? I would look at it this way. You're always going to feel so much better putting out positive products or services out in the world and knowing that your customers are actually enjoying what you're providing them. The other benefit is that it can lead to repeat purchases and growth through even word of mouth. The last thing you want to be is that person who, they have they're over here selling a product and the product is just trash, right? And then now you're dealing with people talking bad about you online, right? You're dealing with people asking for refunds, giving you chargebacks, whatever the case may be. You always want to make sure your product is good. Now, there's going to be times whenever you create something that maybe you thought was great, but your customers are, at the end of the day, they're judge, jury, and executioner, right? If they say your product's not good, and all your customers are saying the product isn't good, then that probably tells you that the product might not be good, right? Or it could also be a situation where you didn't find a good fit, like you're trying to sell your product to somebody who the product's not perfect for, right? That can also be it. But you want to use that feedback to try to make changes, to try to make adjustments, to make sure that down the road you can make sure that people are having good, they're actually they're getting good, they're receiving, good, or they have a good experience from your product, I should say. So how does this work in a practical sense? Now, my first goal once I have a business idea is to get my first sale ASAP. Now, once I have my first sale, I turn and make sure that I can go above and beyond of fulfilling whatever the product or the service is that I'm offering. Now, this is great because it kind of causes you to start seeing what can be improved and how you can actually go about making an even better offering to your customers. The other thing I also do is I also want to be documenting this part of the process too. The idea for me is always that I want to eventually outsource this to somebody else, okay? And what I mean by outsource is, either contractors or employees. I kind of look at it as, you want to be able to take a step back so you can focus on growing the business instead of just working in the business, right? Now, this should give you an excellent starting point to get into the 5 figures in sales and beyond. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, y'all. You will in this game. You will make mistakes in this game, and it's just part of the process, all right? Now, if you haven't created your LLC yet, check out a link down below for our partners that are offering free LLC formation. You just have to pay your state's fees, okay? And I'll also be posting some other business building videos, and I'll link to them down below as well, and I'll throw them up here so you can check those out as well, okay? I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.